Um, Number four. Why do you think there is a specific spectrum for political views?
Do you like Pepsi or do you like Coke?
I mean, yeah, I think it works both ways.
No,
People
do you
have
like Pepsi or do you like Coke?
Pepsi.
No, I like Coke. That's why there's a spectrum. So when you have a group of people, especially as large as a group of people as who lives in the United States, you have a full spectrum of views from people who relating back to the pop analogy, people who like Pepsi, people who like Coke, then you have people who like Dr. Pepper, who like Mountain Dew, who like um, Mountain Blast or whatever the off brands are. So have everybody has their own beliefs and everybody's entitled to their own beliefs. And I think that's why you see the spectrum from as defined from left to right, and there's a lot of people that are in between that and on the outside of that.
What is your opinion on minor parties?
I think minor parties are uh, they're derived from that spectrum. So, like I said, you have people that have lots of different viewpoints. Those minor parties are derived from that spectrum. Those who don't align with the Republicans or the Democrats. Someone who's in between, in the middle, on the outside of that spectrum. They kind of will branch off and form their own parties. There are parties that have specific political intentions. So you have like the Green Party, for example. Green Party has a focus on politics that promote green policies, policies that are environment friendly. So I think they're essential in the United States. I think they are good for drawing attention to particular issues. Um, but I do think they derive from that spectrum because everybody has such different political beliefs.
Um, why do you currently have a certain view on the political spectrum?
So when are you looking for like a particular issue, or I guess can you rephrase that question?
I mean, why do you why do you have a view on the spectrum? Like, what's like, why do you think, and like, why do you think you have a certain view, and what is your view?
Um, Again, like I said, everybody has a different view. Um, I think that again, you see the spectrum from left to right politically. Like I said up earlier, kind of center right leaning. Um, I I guess that I guess I don't know how to answer that.
That is okay. It's no stress.
Okay.
Um, if you have the chance, would you run for president?
No,
And why do you think that?
definitely not. Um, I think that it's too Hollywood. The president, the president of the United States, not just this president who was previously a reality TV host, but I think the position of the president is too much in the spotlight. That's not something I would be interested in.
Hmm.
And any decision you make is a wrong decision in somebody's eyes. Every decision you make is a right decision in somebody's eyes. So it's just too much in the spotlight for my taste.
Hmm. Well, you did answer both 7 and 8, because the way I put it, I should have put why or why not. But for number 9, let's just say hypothetically, right? You end up becoming president.
Yep.
What do you think you could do if you were president?
Well, the president is granted a real specific set of powers by the Constitution, and I personally think that the power of the president, the executive branch of the government, the power of the president in particular, has grown over the years. I think the president has more power than really is intended by our founding fathers. If you look at one person, you have a lot of media coverage, and media coverage covers everything that the president does, and that if the American public puts that much influence, that much trust in one person making those big decisions, or giving that person the power to make those decisions, I think that's too much power at a fundamental level. So kind of getting back to the questions, what could I do if I were the president? I think you could do a lot of things, but I would say that the executive branch does have particular restrictions tied to it. On a similar note, I've watched a little bit of the campaigns, the town halls with the Democratic candidates currently running, and there are a lot of questions and a lot of things that those candidates say, I'm going to do this, 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 but truly they don't have the power to make those decisions. A lot of that power lies in the House of Representatives and the Senate. So I see a lot of presidents making promises that truly they can't keep. They can lead in that direction, but it's not something they can check a box and make that decision necessarily. So I hope that answers that question.
I'm gonna have to reiterate number 10.
Sure.
If you could pick one person in the cabinet, what would you pick if you were president?
So president's cabinet, you have within that cabinet, there's the Secretary of Education, the Secretary of State, some of those types of positions. There's 10 or 12 people in the cabinet. Secretary of the Treasury, there's lots that you could list, but in choosing people for the cabinet, you have to look for people with an expertise in that field, and people that have had leadership roles in that field. So, Secretary of Education. Speaking to that because I'm currently in education, Betsy DeVos. Betsy DeVos, her background in education, I think very limited. So President Trump's choice in choosing her for Secretary of Education, I think I would have picked somebody else. Who would I pick? I don't know. Not being in a position of influence at that level, I don't know. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know who you don't know. I think really you'd have to be. You also have to go through an interview process. Almost have to go through an interview process to make those types of decisions. You have to compare people and look at people's qualifications for a specific role. So if you're looking for a specific name, I don't have one for a specific job title, but I would say that you'd have to pick somebody who's qualified for the position. And how you determine that, I'm not sure.
It's okay. Who are you particularly voting for this upcoming election in 2020?
Oh God, I don't know. I don't know. There's still a lot of weeding out that has to be done in the Democratic Party. I'm kind of leaning towards Donald Trump. I like some of the policies that he's put forward. He seems to be putting our economy in a good place. However, I don't think that. I think a lot of that comes from Americans and the American people. if you look at growth in the economy since 2008 through Barack Obama, through Donald Trump, you look at that line and just kind of, it's on a steady increase. So how much of it is his policies, I don't know. I like Andrew Yang on the Democratic side. I think he's got some pretty interesting ideas on different policies, economic policies in particular. So he's one I'd like to do better. I know he's at in the Iowa caucuses, he was at like, I don't know, 1 or 2%, something like that. So he doesn't look like he's doing real well. So I guess I'd have to see who the Democratic nominee is. I did not vote for Donald Trump in the last election, the 2016 election. I voted for Gary Johnson, who was the Libertarian candidate. He actually, for a third party candidate or a minor party candidate, he had one of the I think best showings in recent years. I don't know what percentage of the vote he got, but I think he did pretty well for being a third party candidate. So he had a lot of momentum behind him in that 2016 election. But unfortunately, that is not happening in this election.
Well, you actually answered more than one question, which is actually very handy.
Sorry, I have a tendency to ramble a little bit.
It's not a bad thing. It's a good quality, honestly. When was the last time you voted? Was it local or national?
Yeah, it was the local election in, when was it, this fall? Had to have been a November election when Governor Gretchen Whitmer was elected. There were some ballot proposals. There were some local ballot initiatives. Don't know if there were school millages or local millages, but it would have been a local election last time I voted.
Do you think it is important for people to vote?
People who are informed, yeah. I think you go on late night TV and you watch whoever you watch, Jimmy Kimmel or Jay Leno or whoever's still on TV, and they do those street interview questions. Hey, do you know who the president of the United States is? And you get answers like Kurt Cobain or something. Like, people have no idea who the president even is. I think you have to be. I think with the power to vote comes a responsibility, and if it's something that you take serious, if it's something that you have some knowledge about, I think it's important to vote. If you're going and picking a red candidate or a blue candidate, I don't know. I guess it's still important for people to vote, but I think with that responsibility comes a responsibility to have some knowledge on the subject.
Nice. What do you think should be added as an amendment in today's standards?
Amendment to the Constitution?
Mm-hmm. Like the 26th. Let's say 26th.
Well, there's a process to adding an amendment, and it's something that has to be done through the House and Senate. I don't think it could be done through the executive branch. So I don't know. I don't think there's anything on the top of my head that I would say this needs to be. This part of the Constitution needs to be amended. I don't have an answer for that, or the next one of why.
All right, we have entered the speed round in the interview because my phone is about to die.
Ooh, speed round. Okay.
So.
Telling me to shorten up my answers a little bit.
Yes.
Okay.
What would you think? What would you apply for the common law if you were president?
Common law is law determined by court cases, right? Am I right in saying that?
Like separate but equal, Plessy versus
so
Ferguson.
I think those all apply. I think that's kind of, I think that's a part of it being common law, is that it's a law that is decided by the courts. So it's kind of like a precedence that's being set. So a little confused by the question, but I think that common law really it should be implemented. Again, it's something that courts decide, and it's kind of like a precedence that's being set. So any one in particular, I don't know, but I think that's a good practice.
All right. I'm gonna use number 19 for the final question, but
Sure.
to like reflect.
Yeah.
Number 18. Have you used an absentee ballot before? And why did you have to use it?
I have not used an absentee ballot. Michigan just passed into law where you can. I forget what they call it. No reason absentee voting or something, where you don't have to have a particular reason to get an absentee ballot. I haven't used it yet. In the past, you had to have been qualified as a senior, 62 years old or something, or you had to be just sick or out of state, or you had to have a reason to use an absentee ballot. But I had not ever had that reason, and I have not used it since there's been the no reason absentee voting.
Second last question. Do you believe the voting system is fair?
Yeah, I believe so. Are you talking about voting system in general, casting ballots?
Just like the voting system in general, like the not the ballots, but the first thing that you mentioned.
I believe so. As long as it's a valid system that's not interfered with. I think there's a concern about foreign parties that are interfering in voting. So I think as long as as long as that process maintains integrity, I think it's a fair process.
And to end this entire interview off, finally say to the camera, what is your political party, and what do you lean towards? To end it all off.
All right. Did I not answer that earlier? I thought I talked about that. Libertarian Party would be the party I most closely side with. I used to be more. I used to lean more towards the Republican Party, but I would say Libertarian Party, not to be confused with the Liberal Party or the Democratic Party, but I say Libertarian, and some people are like, "Oh yeah, you're a Democrat." I'm like, no, it's not really what that is. So Libertarian Party, I tend to side with, which kind of, even within the Libertarian Party, there's a spectrum. There's kind of the left-leaning libertarians, the right-leaning libertarians, and they have some different views on different policies. But the Libertarian Party is my party of choice currently.
Well, it is a pleasure interviewing you through this long process, and I hope you guys enjoyed.
I hope I didn't ramble too long.
No, you did fine. It should be fine. And yeah, this is my interview with my Viscom teacher about just politics in general and all that stuff. So hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later.
Bye.